Today, I am taking you where it all started. My love affair with the San Juans started at this unassuming little pull-off. But if we're being honest, it didn't start here the first year. The first year, I very naively took the road ahead in my Jeep Renegade with my 2 dogs and my brother, and zero idea how to off-road. Nowadays, I park my truck, my Subaru, whatever vehicle I've had, in this unassuming little pull-off, and we hike our way in. Now I know, I own a truck. I could off-road in. It's not a hard road. Every year's a little different, depends on the snow, how rutty or how rocky it is. But there's something magical about arriving on foot. The sound of the creek, the wind through the trees. It's like opening the door to the past in the silence. And so that is why, even though technically Mater could make it up this road, we're gonna arrive on foot because it just makes it that much more magical. Of course, Phoenix is with me, but he's currently waging war on whether or not we take stuffs. And of course we will take stuffs because Feeny gets whatever the heck Feeny wants. But the second we get near a river, we're going in the backpack. Welcome to Red Mountain Mining District and the place that started it all. So first, let me tell you a little bit about the district, because although y'all have been here with me before, I don't think I've shared much history about this place because, to be honest, it's taken me a really long time to piece it together. This is my 8th time seeing this house and being here, and it has taken me a very long time to find enough information to put together a story. Now, I still have no story about this house, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about Red Mountain Mining Town. So we are on the Silverton side of the pass, and when Red Mountain was originally founded, the whole district, it was founded over here on the Silverton side. But when the spring thaw came, they realized that they built on a spring and it was an uninhabitable marsh. So they moved across the pass to where we were a few weeks ago, the Dorado area. But then they struck it rich on this side of the pass. So they literally put houses, cranked them up, put them on wheels, and brought them over here by horses and buggies and refounded the town. From there, and this is why it's so hard to kind of piece together everything, is the town moved multiple times. It burned down multiple times, and each time they kind of moved it around. The ore here, the silver here, the minerals here are actually via vertical veins, and it took them a while to figure that out. So they kind of had to move around, and it's a very vast area that they call Red Mountain Town. And because of all of that moving, all of the reference pictures that I have found, none of those buildings are still standing because most of them burnt down, and it's really hard to try to piece together what was what. In all of my research, and I have tirelessly searched for this house, I have found photos from like the 60s and 70s where it's still standing and it had a sign here about being a historical landmark, but I don't know who owns this house or owned this house. And this house, for some reason, I feel a deep, soul deep connection to this house and to this place. It is like as I walk up that walkway, that road, and I see the house, it's like I'm just so calm and at peace. And so I always like to imagine, because I don't know who lived here, I like to imagine who lived here, and I like to tell a story. So there is mining equipment, there's old pipes, there's old rail, there's old cable, there's old cribbing. So I know there was a mine on this specific area. Above us, there's an old safe, and then there's a lot of bricks. So I assume maybe an assayer's office was there, because that's equipment and materials they would have. But otherwise, this house is kind of on a hill by itself. And so I picture a miner owner or a super high up official for the mines lived in this house. And because I've seen the wallpaper hold, and I believe this is the last remaining piece of the wallpaper, and I will tuck it safely back inside. Because I've seen the wallpaper, and it's a light, bright, feminine under there, and because I've been here so many years, I saw different layers of wallpaper, different layers of wainscoting that was painted white. I imagine it was a family. I imagine there was a woman who lived here, maybe children. I picture a piano, and I know that sounds weird, but in Fair Play, I learned that most of the upper class mining houses had beautiful tufted furniture, upright pianos, because music was their sole source of entertainment. And I picture light, breezy lace curtains over the windows so you could still see the view. Picture a wood-burning stove in the corner. Now this particular house, a lot of it has fallen, and I have seen other pictures where it extends out. So I imagine this was a living space that went up into the second floor where the bedrooms were, and you can see where the smokestack was, so you know where the wood-burning stove was. And I picture that husband and wife listening to maybe a record or something late at night, or her playing piano, him reading. I picture a porch and her doing needlework while her husband worked at the mill or the mine. I picture the life that was here, and I don't know why, but I can picture it with such vivid detail. And it's what draws me back every year. Like, will this house be here next year? I can tell you, in the 8 years I have visited, it has taken a beating. That second story is about to come down. So in my lifetime, will this still be here? Or will it be a crumbled pile of wood? Future generations won't know what it looked like, won't have the memories, the wallpaper, the stories. This house has captivated me since the day I saw it. And there's another reason why this area is so special, but we'll get to that later. There was 0% chance of rain in today's forecast, but Colorado. Those storm clouds coming and being so high up and so exposed here and so at the will of the elements. I think that's something that draws me here, is the grit, the determination, the wonder of the marvels that happened up here, and the life that happened up here, the stories, the good deeds, the bad deeds, the lives that were lost. It's a hard, rugged area, and I think I'm always just at a wondrous loss for words of how our ancestors and the founders of this country and these spaces and places made a life up here and made a beautiful home up here and had memories. And I wonder if when they left, if they packed their bags and loaded up the mules, and if they stood and looked and thought, I will never see a view like this again from my window, or or what a grand adventure this was. Because I feel like I say that every time, that I will never, ever get over this view and this grand adventure and being able to see places and spaces like my Red Mountain house. I'm gonna tuck this easy under here, nice and safe, unless my dog tries to eat the wood. Leave it for the next person to find. Although the Red Mountain house, as I lovingly call it, is my favorite thing, and I feel like I could just sit here all day, there is other things to see. A lot of other things to see. That moving in. So I'm gonna stick relatively close to the one structure that still has a roof while this blows through. Looks to be just a typical Colorado moody sky. There's some blue on the other of it. But let's continue the tour down here, because it does look like the mine, there was a shaft up here, it dropped down. I forget the name of the thing behind me. I always struggle when I'm recording to remember everything. And I have like video moments like I'm having right now, but chute, it's a chute. There's a chute right here. And it looks like maybe there were some rail cars here. So let's continue to explore what would have been by the Red Mountain house and show you why I think it was an assay building and the mine. So behind me is what I'm calling a chute. I don't know if that's the right term, but that's what we're gonna call it today. And typically from what I've seen in currently operating mines or mines that have been restored, is there would have been another building up top, possibly a structure that connected it completely. Some of the things they build were absolutely wild. And then the ore would have come out of here into rail carts usually, or mining buckets or trams. Because there's so much wood and because it's a really flat kind of grade, I'm going to assume they were rail cars. There was a rail car system. Believe it or not, high up above me, the Rainbow Route came through. So the Silverton Railroad actually did come through here, but it didn't come down here. So I'm not quite sure what it connected to here, but just based on the leftovers and how they're kind of all spaced and just the grade of the property, that is going to be my assumption. And like I said, I like to kind of put together the story because I've had a really hard time finding photos of this specific area back in its day. If you have them or you know where they are, oh my God, I would love you for life. But that is my assumption. So actually, as wild as it is to imagine, and I've seen enough of this stuff at this point, high up there, and I've never seen this before, so I think the snow might have pulled some of the tailings and the dirt away. There is a railroad, like the train, not the tram, like the ore cart rail. So I'm not talking like a steamer, I'm talking just for the carts, way up there. And I know because remember the Eldorado, when we were up there, that steep grade that it had to come down, I think it came across. Because up here, that's railroad tie, like that's railroad, like the iron pieces of the rail. I bet it came across here, they dumped into this, and this maybe dumped into mules. I don't know. But it's interesting to me that it's all right by this house. So this house would have had to have been somebody really prominent to be right by all of the activity like this, especially if it's the assay office behind it. My assumption is it had to have been somebody important, just the size of the house, the stature of the house, and the location. But yeah, this is what I love about visiting year over year, is every year, you know, the snow or avalanches or rock slides either hide things or expose things. And that up there I've never seen. Sadly, that is on private property, so I can't go investigate, but that's my assumption. And it goes with some more stuff that's up there, that's why. So up to the right of the Red Mountain house, as I call it, is this safe. This safe has been here every year, just like this. I don't think anybody's getting it out of here. But there's also a lot of brick. And brick is not something you see often up here unless it was an assay office, because they would have had a brick fireplace or brick burner to melt. A lot of that was built out of brick. So my assumption, and based on the wood, there would have been a wood building with the brick chimney structure, and they would have kept a lot of the valuables in the safe. When they left, they just left the safe here and everything kind of crumbled around it. But there's also some bigger pieces of piping and things like that, which makes me think they were definitely doing something with the ore here, processing it in some way. And it makes sense, if this is the owner's house, that it would have been close to the owner's house. But this is the only other flat area. So these structures, I think there was quite a bit here, because there's, you know, I know the house extended and there was another structure that was down, but that's it. Everything else is up and over this way. So I don't know. The mystery continues for me. I will continue to figure it out. I've got 2 old mining books that are being shipped to me at my friend's house, that I'm gonna pick up to try to piece together the history and put a name to this place. And you guys will know when I know. So that is all that's down here. My favorite house, the place that I come back every year, the place that sparked my love affair of mining history and digging in and putting names and stories to places. But there's a lot more to see. We're gonna head up a little bit. It is sprinkling, so I'm gonna grab my bag. We're gonna go to the one place that has a roof, and hopefully this will pass by soon. Getting close to this structure because it does have a roof. So there is a pretty nasty cloud kind of just passing by us, but it is blue beyond that, light gray over here. So I'm just gonna stay close to this just in case it lets down, but we're gonna explore the rest of up here within proximity, because once I leave this area, there's really no shelter. So we'll see what this does. But this is one of the structures at the top of the hill. So if you do drive your car up, you can actually park right up here. I'm gonna assume it was some sort of garage, workshop, something like that. It looks a little bit newer. So most of the mining here was done in the late 1800s to early 1900s, but the Eldorado was open until the 70s. So I have a feeling there were still miners and companies that were trying to strike it rich up here, and they just weren't like super well known, nor did they maybe have the success. So some of like the doors on this one is a lot newer than the Red Mountain house down there. So I'm gonna assume maybe some sort of shop. Kind of looks like a garage door. Could have been for a vehicle, because by like the end of the era up here, Otto Mears had created and developed the 550, the Red Mountain Highway. So you could get up here. Sometimes horses did have to help the cars, believe it or not, because they weren't strong enough to get up. They needed horsepower. But possible. I don't think so, but possible. It is sprinkling, and honestly, I love Colorado rain. Don't really like being, you know, out in it, but I do like it. I totally didn't realize that this was a tin roof. It sounds so cool. It's too light to be like probably pick upable by this, but it sounds cool. Wind is picking up a little bit. Glad we're safe and sound. Beans is like, screw it, lady. I'm gonna go explore. The blackest of clouds are over there. So there's just light gray that way. So I think we're gonna show you around the rest of the place up here, because it's just sprinkling, and I'm not a witch, so I won't melt. So I'd mentioned that most shafts up here were vertical. Now, I don't know if this one goes vertical, but she's certainly horizontal, and she's certainly freaky AF. So So let's check out the one that's right here. It is always so pretty. So pretty.
Yeah, you're not going swimming.
So obviously it's flooded, but if it's flooded now, you gotta wonder if it did it back then too. I'm only going to assume yes. And the water is green, and for the first time ever, I actually did notice a sign, I think it's new, that said, warning, lead and arsenic in area, dangerous to your health. Probably. So I definitely wouldn't go in that water, but believe it or not, one time I came up here, the gate was cut open and there was a raft in there. So somebody went exploring. You could never. I have gone into mine shafts before, never flooded ones, and I would never go into that one. That's like a legit horror movie, and I think somebody should write it about the Red Mountain mines. I really do.
I can't. Well, you expect me to get over there? I have to step in the water. Never mind, I can jump. Go on.
So this particular shoot and its location has never made sense to me. We are well away from the Red Mountain town where we were. It's ran a little bit harder now. And above us is the town of Guston, which we'll be heading next as long as this passes. And the railroad actually went up here. There's actually a railroad station up here. But it wouldn't make sense to drop it down. And we're on a sheer cliff face. So my assumption is the rails had to come across here because we know they build crazy things. And so my assumption is they built a crazy thing and it came over here despite my complete and utter bafflement of how.
Four-wheel drive makes that so much easier for you, sir.
Oh shit, that's a shaft. I don't think I ever actually realized that's a shaft. I don't know that, maybe my first year visiting here I came up here, but it's kind of hard to get to. It's like, you have to like slip and slide down some shale. That's a shaft, hold on. I don't know how much you can see because a lot of the timbers are down and they're kind of crossing it, and I'm not stepping on it. I'm not that brave, I'm not that dumb. I'm a little, you know, overly cautious, but that's making more sense now to my construction of this. All right. I really wish I had Nat Geo's budget. And you know how they have like LiDAR that can like tell what was under the ground? I know that's not the same here, but then they take like a 3D model and render it. Like, can we get a rendering? Because in my head, I think I have it, ish. I mean, some of it seems impossible, but most of it seems impossible to me. So, okay, we're up high where I said I saw a rail. That rail, I know, goes to another thing like this, rail. I bet y'all there was like an ore car rail line, like narrow ore car rail line that came all across here. I bet they actually had bridges that carried it across and it connected all the shafts. And then it dumped down into there. And then there was an assayer's office as well. And then that's later, that's older because it has electricity. I bet the line connected them all. And then I bet the route went up to Guston to the actual railroad. I could picture it in my head. It seems impossible. It seems impossibly difficult to imagine the ingenuity and the craftsmanship, but all of these pieces connect, and I've done this long enough, I've been out here long enough to see enough insanity of their construction. And that is what I think. I'm putting it all together. Fiends is not near as excited as I am. I think he might be falling asleep. Are you tired of me? But I think I figured it out, guys. I think in my head, at least, whether it's right, I have mapped what has been driving me bonkers for 8 years. It only took me 8 years. Speaking of 8 years, I'm here earlier than I normally am. So a lot of the trees aren't fully bloomed yet, blossomed. I see a tailings pile over there with what looks like a building. Could just be a cabin though. People do have cabins. Like there's literally a cabin right there. Right there. And I see a tailings pile up there. I knew that tailings pile was up there. I didn't know it was that big. So now I have 2 more places to discover to try to map my Red Mountain District mines. Because they moved all over. So it's all over here, baby. Also, Colorado weather. Make up your mind. Sun there, black there. Make up your mind. All right, we're gonna make a break for it so that I can finish my story. Now, we aren't gonna get the hours that I wanted up here. I'm not gonna get the drone shots and the beautiful blue skies. But that's what adventures are about sometimes. And today's is about a story, about why it all started here. And that story can only be told a little bit further up. Can you go get that now for me? This is a poor life choice, kid. Go. What I don't do for a shot. Welcome to Guston. That is right, Guston Depot. So this was part of Otto Mears's 20-mile railroad that went from Silverton, Guston to Ironton. They called it the Rainbow Route because it kind of arced like a rainbow. This building was the only passenger building, so shelter, which we might have to go in, who knows. And this is what connected those towns for just a few years. Sadly, it was built in like the 1890s, so it wasn't super long lived, but they have restored it to look like it did back then. They've even brought rails up here. This is one of my favorite places with 8 years of memories. And guys, this cool thing about visiting someplace and putting the history together and exploring and seeing and being here, there's a photo that I know I've seen because I have been to Guston 8 times and I have looked at this photo probably 8 times. But everything I just imagined and wanted LiDAR for down there is in this photo, and I was right. This is where we're at. This is one layer below us. This is where all those lines connected. So I told you they built something. And I can't, pretty sure that's my house. Hard to tell because the topography is a little off and the house looks so different, but I think it is. If it's not, I don't know, I'm gonna have to go find some of the older pictures I have from like the 70s when it was still there. It might have burned down and been replaced because there's also not an assay. There's not another like little flat building, like flat thing here, and there's not cribbing, so it could have been part of something that maybe burnt down and then was rebuilt, and I'm seeing the rebuilt part, and that's the original. I'm gonna have to do a little more research, but this photo helps. This photo helps a lot. I was right, and man, there was a big building here. I can't believe that's all gone. Wow. This is only locked by a nail right now, and this has a nice solid roof, so I've got shelters, but let's take one more little walk. And I promise you then, we're gonna come back here and we're gonna tell a story. Welcome to what I like to call Chunka's porch. So, Guston is not Chunka's porch, but it does carry a lot of memories. Chunka's porch is up a little higher on the mountain, but we have some thunder happening a little bit further over there. So we're gonna kind of wait that out right here while we tell you guys a story. Beans does not like thunder, so he's a little extra needy, but that is just fine. So let me tell you about Chunka. Now, Chunka was my soul dog, and I don't say that with any disrespect to Phoenix, because Phoenix is also my soul dog. As someone who has loved and lost several dogs in her life, I think every dog holds a different piece of your soul, and your heart expands a little bit further and further for each dog. But Chunka gave me something really special the last year we were here. You see, Chunka had 3 types of cancer that we'd been battling for years. Just shortly prior to this trip, my first trip to Colorado, she was diagnosed with yet another form. I knew my time with her was short, and I waffled back and forth with my vet. Should I take her? Should we go? Should we not go? The words of my vet were take her and love the shit out of her. So we came, and to take care of her while we were here, because it was a backcountry camping trip, I found an amazing rover sitter that she stayed with every other day, so she had a nice little place to rest while we explored during the day. But on the last day, we came over the pass from Telluride to explore the Red Mountain Mining District, a place I had only seen in photos and didn't even understand the depth that this place would have on me. I drove the Jeep up, we parked it, I put her bed there, a bowl. I didn't expect her to move around much. But she did. She put her tail in the air and she climbed these mountains, stopping here and stopping at her tree. I lost her 1 month later. And I know that this was her gift to me. One last trip, one last moment where I could picture her, where she was happy and pain-free. And so every year I come back and her ashes are high up on the mountain and we toast her. We bring cheese puffs. I'll tell you that story in a minute. I think I have people coming up to me, which is why I keep looking that way. We bring her cheese puffs. And I picture her, I picture her sitting on that porch of my house. And that's what I picture heaven's like. She gave me that gift of adventure one last time. And this area will always feel like home because of that. Because you can't see it, but I see her right there, laying down, watching us explore, letting me explore one last time with her. And him. So this is why. This place will always hold the deepest part of my heart and soul. Why Red Mountain Town will always be a place I visit. We did have to move in. It just started dumping. I think it might have calmed down. There are so many old wasp nests in here. Very thankful it's too cold for that. That brought a moment of levity though. I was trying to get my shit together so I could finish this and then we could run back to our car, but I think we're gonna have to sit here for a minute. Well, friends, it looks like we might be here, and looks and sounds like we might be here for a moment. The rain comes and goes, but the thunder booms are getting louder. So I figured, let's continue on with story time. So the cheese puffs. Let's tell a funny story while we wait out this rainstorm. Every year, and come on, I know you need comfort, but you also need cheese puffs. We do have stuffs. And we have cheese puffs. Come here, you want some cheese puffs? Okay, you want a cheese puff? Yeah, I know. So, as most young 20-something-year-olds have to do, I had to move home as an adult with my 2 dogs. It was temporary, but I moved in with my parents and quickly found a job, because I'd moved in from out of state, in Cleveland. My parents live about an hour and 20 minutes south of Cleveland, so I had incredibly long days while I searched for an apartment up there. I had 2 bully breeds. Very hard to rent apartments with chows and shepherds. Anywho, I digress. Let's get back to the cheese puff story. He's gonna eat them all while I tell the story, and then I'm not gonna get a single one. Anywho, Chunka was a queen, not a princess, an unadulterated, unequivocal queen. Her name was Chunka, so she was pretty lazy, and she really didn't do things that she didn't want to do, which was most of the time get up. So I come home one day. She had my dad absolutely wrapped around her little paw. And Paxton, my previous dog, met me outside, through the fence. That dog loved me. Just like Fiends, he could track me a mile away. If I was coming, he knew it. Chunka, you had to go to her. She didn't deign to get up and come say hi to you. So there's nothing abnormal about the fact that I came into the house and she wasn't at the door. So I turned the corner, and there's my dad, headphones on, playing his video game at his desk. And there's my Chunka, laying on the bed. My dad would eat a cheese puff, roll back on his chair with the cheese puff behind him, and feed Chunka on the bed. I don't know how long this was going on. No idea. But about 8 cheese puffs in, I cleared my throat. Chunka just looked at me. My dad looked at me slightly guiltily because he was feeding my fat dog cheese puffs. But ever since that day, cheese puffs were her special treat. They're our special treat. And every year, I bring cheese puffs to Chunka's porch. I usually decorate the tree, and I'll put some footage in there from my birthday when my whole family decorated the tree with cheese puffs. But this year, we're just enjoying a rainstorm, eating cheese puffs with wasp nests and stuff. Always stuffs. But that is what I love about this place. I have 8 years of memories here, and this is adding to it. I have memories with my brother, with my family, with my friends, my 40th birthday spent here. I have so many memories of this place. And so it only makes sense that she's here. And Chunka's porch, the beautiful views. I'll put some footage from previous years since we're not really seeing the view. But every year I come back, and every year it feels more and more like home. And this place started my love affair with Silverton, with mining, with the San Juans, and with truly exploring to the depth that I explore, and the obsession with finding these places and putting these stories together. Ooh, that wind is kicking up. To Chunka. She's thunder booms. So while we're at it, I always like to toast a Chunka, especially with a mini Coke. So, cheers, Chunka. Thank you for this shelter that's keeping us safe, although I think I'm gonna have to sit in a little further because rain's coming down a little harder. If Fiends weren't afraid of thunderstorms, I think this would be a lovely little break. And if there weren't wasp nests in here. But, I mean, they're dead, but still. Just thankful for the shelter. Just don't like him being scared. Good thing we have stuffs. Well, guys, we have been sitting here for about a half hour, and it stopped raining for now, but it keeps coming back, and the wind is kicking up, as you heard, and you can probably hear. And so I think we're gonna make a break for it and head down the mountain and finish this video here. I'm just gonna wrap the drone in my raincoat, because that's the only thing I have that's not waterproof. Didn't even get it in the sky. I think we're gonna book it down the mountain. But I kind of like the idea that we can have a part 2 of this. I will be in Silverton shortly. We can come up here at any time, and I will bring you along for a part 2 to where it all started. So I'm gonna wrap everything in my bag, get moving down the mountain, get us safe and sound. Even though this has been kind of a lovely little respite, listening to the rain, I think it's time to get us nice and safe and off this mountain. So we will see you guys on the next adventure, wherever the road may take us.